Welcome to this presentation, Promoting Sustainable Development in the Age of the Project Economy. My name is Flavious. I'm from the Zimbabwe chapter of PMI. Right now, we're in the middle of a global pandemic. The pandemic has alerted or at least reminded us of the challenges and issues that currently affect humanity and even threaten our beautiful planet. The project management community cannot ignore these issues. In fact, as project leaders, we need to take an active role in addressing these issues when we initiate our projects. The greatest societal value that our projects can deliver is to leave behind a better planet. The world is currently not in the best environmental, social, or economic state. This was even before we had this pandemic. And right now we see all sectors of the economy and society have been affected by this pandemic. Project managers, the people who turn ideas into reality, should rise up and play a key role in shaping a better world. World leaders, whether in government, civic society, business, or academia, have ideas on how to improve the state of this world. However, they need project managers to turn their ideas into reality. Is there a better way to deliver value and to stay relevant than to leave behind a better planet and a better society for our children, for future generations? Can we talk about project success if we are not succeeding in delivering a better future generation? Projects should be considered successful and relevant if they are providing some societal value. The age of the project economy, let's discuss a little bit about that and link the meaning to the concept of making the world a better place for current and future generations through project management. Let's start by defining what the project economy is. PMI defines the project economy as one in which people have the skills and capabilities they need to turn ideas into reality. It is where organizations deliver value to stakeholders through successful completion of projects, delivery of products, and alignment to value streams. And all of these initiatives deliver financial and societal value. So the project economy is about turning ideas into reality. It's about changing the way we work, using projects to deliver value in a changing world in order to stay relevant. Organizations should deliver value to stakeholders. And this value is not just financial value, but societal value. Amongst these stakeholders are the current and future generations we are talking about. And indeed, the project economy is driven by global trends, by what is happening in the world around us. It's about accepting things like increase in population, accepting pandemics like COVID-19, and then adapting in order to continue to deliver value. The project economy means that organizations have to be innovating and turn those innovations into real solutions that meet real needs or real challenges. Having said about that, now let's discuss what sustainable development is all about, sometimes shortened to just sustainability. Sustainability is defined as the ability to be maintained at a certain rate or level. That's the dictionary meaning. It means that the rate of usage should be equal or less than the rate of replenishment. So before we unpack this concept of sustainable development, let's consider more facts and figures that can give us a good background for our understanding. The Worldwide Fund for Nature reports or argues that humanity's demand on nature has exceeded the planet's replenishment capacity for more than 40 years. They say that our ecological footprint, which simply means the quantity of nature required to support people in their activities, is 100% more than our biocapacity. Biocapacity being the amount of resources available to sustain those activities. So this imbalance leads to a global ecological deficit. It actually means that we would need 1.7 Earths to provide the ecological services which we currently use. It's clear that the world is in overshoot. We are drawing on the world's resources faster than they can be restored. And we are releasing waste and pollutants faster than the Earth can absorb them or render them harmless. When we look at more facts and figures, we think of global warming and the devastating effect that it has on the planet. Global warming is helping to accelerate desertification, and it's estimated that by 2050, about a quarter of the globe will be a desert. West Africa, for example, has been identified as a climate change hotspot, with climate change likely to lessen crop yields and production with resultant impacts on food security. Southern Africa will also be affected. The western part of Southern Africa is set to become drier with increasing drought frequency and a number of heat waves toward the end of the 21st century. We also look at some social issues. Poverty, for example. Half the world's population live on less than $2.50 per day, and more than 70% of these are in Africa. We'll think of access to clean water and electricity. 750 million people lack adequate access to clean drinking water. And at least a quarter of the world population has no access to electricity. This is the current state of the world that we are living in. Even our projects, they play a part. We are using resources. We are contributing to the state of the planet at the moment. Think, for example, the construction projects. It's said that they use 50% of all the world's resources. It's said that they use 45% of the global energy, 40% of global water, 70% of global timber. Of course, we all agree that infrastructure is vital for development of nations. But this development comes at a price. The environmental impact of construction projects contribute to global warming, and construction projects emit large amounts of carbon dioxide and methane. So what then is sustainable development? There is no universally recognized definition of sustainable development, but one that is commonly used and that we will also use for this presentation is the one that is stated in the Brundtland report, also called Our Common Future. This one was published in 1987 by the World Commission on Environment and Development, and it introduced this concept of sustainable development. So Madam Gro Harlem Brundtland was chairing this commission, and she defined sustainable development as development that meets the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. In my words, I would say sustainable development is development that attempts to leave the planet and the society in a better state than we found it in. So we're looking at projects that meet the needs of the present without affecting or compromising the future generations. This is sustainable development. The aim of sustainable development is to make a balance between the three pillars or three dimensions. These dimensions are economic, environmental, and social needs. Sustainable development takes into account economic growth, social inclusion, and environmental protection. And the triple bottom line is a way organizations use to evaluate their performance in a broader perspective to create greater business value. In contrast to the traditional bottom line approach, which focuses solidly on economic profit and loss, this framework of the triple bottom line addresses social and environmental concerns. So sustainability sits or balances on these three pillars: economic, environmental, and social. But these three dimensions are not exactly equal. There's a hierarchy amongst these pillars. Although sustainability requires meeting all these dimensions, the internal hierarchy detects that environment is at the top. Because without an environment that supports society and economy, there's no need for the other dimensions. And the dimension of economy has got to be contained within social boundaries. Yes, it is the holistic view, the integration of all parts, that is the core of sustainable development. At the center of all these three, that's where we find sustainable development. It is better viewed as a continuous process in which the actual development or change that takes place, of course, by way of projects, must be sustainable. So in 2015, the United Nations came out with what they call the 17 Sustainable Development Goals. And this, as they say, is the blueprint to achieve a better and more sustainable future for all. The SDGs address the global challenges we face, including those related to poverty, inequality, climate change, environmental degradation, peace, and justice. So these SDGs came out through a highly negotiated, deliberative process, which comprised not only UN member states, but also lots of other stakeholders, businesses, civic society groups, as well as governments. And part of the preamble to the agenda says, we, that is we as in the countries, leaders, and peoples of the world, are determined to take the bold and transformative steps which are urgently needed to shift the world onto a sustainable and resilient path. Transformative steps are required. And when we talk of transformation or change, this excites us as project managers, because we know the project economy points to the fact that change or transformation occurs through projects, and all work is becoming projectized as institutions adjust to this change or this transformation. So the 17 goals, sustainable goals, also have got specific targets. In fact, there are 169 specific targets, because each goal has got targets and also has got indicators or metrics to measure success. So we're looking at 17 goals, 169 targets, and 232 indicators. And all these 17 goals integrate all the three dimensions of sustainable development. So some of the examples of these goals: goal number 1, no poverty; number 2, zero hunger; we look at number 5, gender equality; number 6, clean water and sanitation; we look at 7, affordable and clean energy; we look at issues of life below water, issues of climate action in SDG 13, and also we look at 17, which is the enabling SDG, partnership for all these goals. We can see that in order to achieve these goals, a future's multi and interdisciplinary way of doing business and thinking is demanded of all of us. Governments may seem to be the ones in a good position or at the forefront to play a key role in achieving these goals, but we all know that governments govern through projects. So there is a role for us to play as project managers. By now, we should have seen the connection between project management and sustainable development. In this project, economy age, project management as the driver of an organization, a strategy can play a key role in sustainable development. And when we talk of organizations, we are referring to governments, non-profits, corporates, all these, when they strategize, they need project management to drive those strategies. How then can we promote sustainable development in the project economy age? Sustainable development ought to be considered as one of the objectives of our projects. We know that projectization is necessary to solve the current and future challenges facing humanity, as well as to ensure that new crises are avoided. So one of the objectives in our projects should be to do with solving these issues, solving these current and future challenges, promoting sustainable development. Projects ought to be used to move organizations to a state of sustainability and to achieving specific sustainable development objectives. Projects have always been undertaken to fulfill objectives. And we are saying here, some of those objectives should be about sustainability. Projects should be used to drive change, the transformative steps that are required for sustainable development. When we think of the initiation context of projects, we see that projects are initiated as a response to factors affecting organizations. And right now, we've seen how the pandemic has affected organizations. Not just organizations, but the whole world. Even in this presentation, we've seen other issues affecting humanity. And these issues will have an impact on organizations sooner or later. We need to acknowledge these issues, to accept them, then to act, to take the initiative, to be innovative, to find ways in which our projects can bring societal value. Remember, the greatest societal value that projects can deliver is to leave behind a better planet. As project managers, we are familiar with the business case, which is a fundamental document for any project. Amongst other things, the business case helps us to measure the project success at the end of the project against the project objectives. Now, may I highlight the importance of a sustainability case? A sustainability case identifies the sustainability objectives and stakeholders of our projects. So let's have a sustainability case. Let's identify objectives that can be met, sustainable development objectives that can be achieved through the projects. Let's come up with a sustainable development plan, which describes the expected plan for promoting sustainable development within our projects. When we assess the feasibility of a project, how about considering the social and environmental impact of the projects? Things like protection of the environment, rational use of resources, appreciation of the social aspects that are involved. In many countries, the regulations demand that an environmental impact assessment be done. This is crucial. Even where it is not regulated, it is important that as project managers, as project leaders, we do these assessments and see the impact that our projects can have on the environment even before we start executing the project. Not to forget also the social impact. The society around us, the people are affected by this project. They are stakeholders. what is the impact that the projects can have on the people. Figuring out who is at stake in a project is one of the first actions when initiating projects, and also for a project manager when he's assigned to a project. The questions to ask here that we should all ask are current and future generations affected by this project? Does this project have an impact on the society and the environment? How can this project contribute positively to society and the environment? How can this project help in achieving any of the SDGs, the Sustainable Development Goals? Is it going to make an impact in terms of providing clean water for the people? Is it going to help in providing electricity for the people? Are we considering the gender equality issues when maybe we recruit for our project? And so forth. We've got 17 goals to look at. Surely, at least one of the goals should be considered in these projects. It is time to rethink our project performance metrics. It's high time that project success is not only measured according to the traditional time, scope, and cost, but also according to societal value aspects. This will encourage organizations to invest more into sustainable design and construction, for example. Remember, the project economy is not only about delivering financial value, but societal value as well. Now, let's just have a glimpse at what PMI has been doing to promote sustainable development. Recently, as recent as 2019, PMI signed on to what is called the UN Global Compact. So the UN Global Compact partners, they work to align their strategies and operations with universal principles on human rights, labor, environment, and anti-corruption, as well as to take actions that advance societal goals. And this year, the UN Global Compact celebrated 20 years. Interestingly, PMI President and COO Sunil Krashara moderated at a recent Global Compact panel on sustainability. Through this partnership, PMI will look for ways to apply project, program, and portfolio management to help achieve the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals by 2030. PMI stakeholders are therefore expected to use their expertise in project management to help achieve these SDGs by 2030. The PMI President, Sunil, had this to say about sustainable development. He says, for any organization, aligning with UN Sustainable Development Goals requires a careful planning and project management. Many SDGs can only be achieved through complex, multi-sectorial, truly global collaboration. That's why PMI is publicly committed to using its expertise to help organizations efficiently align with these goals. So, as stakeholders of PMI and project management ourselves, we have got a role to play to support PMI, to support our projects in order to promote sustainable development. This presentation aimed to cover the following objectives: to provide awareness of sustainable development and sustainable development goals. Still remember, sustainable development is defined in the Brundtland report. It is development that takes care of the current without compromising the future. It is attempts to leave the world in a better position or in a better state than we found it in. And the SDGs, which were brought in 2015, achieving these goals, 17 goals by 2030, requires all of us, including project managers, to play a role. And we've seen that as project management, we have a key role to play in sustainable development. We have also seen how PMI is also having an active role in promoting sustainable development. Its partnership or its membership to the UN Global Compact is also putting them in a very good position to promote sustainable development, not only in the way of internal operations, but also in the way of assisting other corporations that do projects to do them in a way that is sustainable or that promotes sustainable development. Kofi Annan said, I quote, "Our biggest challenge in this new century is to take an idea that seems abstract, sustainable development, and turn it into a reality for all the world's people. Sustainable development should be a reality for everyone, including project management practitioners. In fact, it is us as project managers who can turn these ideas into reality." Another expert says sustainability is no longer about doing less harm, it's about doing more good. We need to have that kind of approach. What can we do? How can our projects do more good? How can they improve the situation? And it requires that we need to change our thinking. Albert Einstein says we cannot solve our problems with the same thinking we used when we created them. So it's time to change our thinking. It's time to look at development SDGs, so it's sustainable development goals, it's sustainable development issues, it's bringing societal value to the world. Thank you very much for your attention, and stay sustainable. Stay safe.